Alright, we are into Gambit Gaming versus Giants. Already we see Elise and Kog'Maw banned out. Fully expect to see Twisted Fate banned out. Interesting ban out on Kennen, but I think that's definitely to stop Giants AD Kennen, which is a real pain in the rear for a lot of teams. And he really sets up kills well. That seems to be something Giants are on every opportunity they get. Still expect to see Shen, Twisted Fate, and likely Xin Zhao or possibly Kayle banned out here. As Gambit, I believe, has first pick here. And they're going to be able to pick up at least one good champion. And especially one of the champions that's going to sneak through. Nidalee might sneak through. Kayle possibly could sneak through. Shen could sneak through at this point. And I definitely think that's something Gambit's going to be pretty happy with, as those champions are very popular on their side of things. And I'm not sure what Giants is going to be able to do to counter those champions, unless they just want to leave them all open and pick two for themselves, which has been a fairly common thing that happens. Say, hey, we'll give you one really strong champion, but we'll take two if you're second pick. It's a really good strategy if you like to play some of those strong champions that usually get banned out. Ban out some different things, like the Kog'Maw and Kennen, as I don't think they were ban-worthy, but that just means Gambit gets to bring something different through the picks and bans pool here. I think they're going to take their time with it, since we can't actually see the last two bans, which is something that annoys me greatly. I fully expect it to be Kayle or Shen, and possibly even a Twisted Fate, as at least one of those champions got through. And yeah, they're definitely going to be trolling us for the first little bit. Gambit really likes to put on a show whenever they play. That's just kind of how they work. And it will be a Thresh first picked up. And this is definitely looking bad for Giants already. Gambit known for playing a mean Thresh, as they practice him a lot. And Thresh just brings so much to your team. He's a great way to protect your back line. He can initiate a fight. And it's really annoying to be hooked in with him. And he just brings a lot to the team. And he's just a really annoying champion to deal with. He's amazing in 2v1 lanes. He has good poke. He's likely to be nerfed at some point, just due to the fact he has a bit of everything, with the exception of a heal. And he sets up ganks well too. Throw the lantern down, then throw the hook out, and move halfway across the map in a few seconds. It's just such a good champion all around. Giants will be likely going with Sona and possibly one of the stronger champions that are left in the pool, since we can't see the final two bans. A Shen, Kayle, Twisted Fate are still open. And I definitely think, ooh, a Volibear pick. A fairly common one in Europe, as he just ganks so well for teams. Not sure he's actually going to go with a teleport route, as I think they want to put either Ghost or Flash on him to actually allow him to initiate and get past Thresh. As Thresh does have several abilities that will stop him. As you can throw out the hook on Thresh, and that will cancel out movement abilities for a few seconds. Even though you do get pulled slightly closer, you are pulled at the same speed regardless of your movement speed. Ezreal being picked up right away, likely going to be in the bottom lane with Thresh, meaning that is a very safe bottom lane, and they could easily pile on a lot of damage. Arcane shift as soon as Thresh lands that hook, and you've got a wide open few seconds to lay in to whoever gets hit with it. Gambit hovering over Nasus, who received several buffs this patch, and he will actually be picked up. He could go jungler top lane. I've seen Saint on the North American scene run him in the jungle as a fairly solid jungler, actually. His ability to pick up CS is pretty solid. He has great sustain in lane, though I definitely think he'll be picked up top lane and just kind of left alone almost to farm it up. Caitlyn picked up by Giants right away, not wanting to pick an AD carry that doesn't have an escape mechanism and several ways to get away from Thresh, and who can also kind of protect herself. That seems to be a fairly common theme throughout these picks, is AD carries that can kind of either protect themselves or go all in with massive damage. And this matchup we're going to see AD carries that can get away from everything, and Akali going in for a pickup by Giants. Good choice here, likely to be a top lane Akali. Could be mid lane as well, but I definitely think top lane is going to be a little bit better. She can apply a lot of pressure to Nasus, even though Nasus does have great sustain if he's actually going to be a top lane champion. But Akali just has the ability to snowball, get on that back line, dodge a lot of Thresh's abilities. As she can use her ultimate to dodge the hook, she can use it to get on the back line, dodge the box. You can go through the box with the ultimate of Akali. But let's see what Gambit Gaming needs here. They definitely need a mid laner and either top or jungle. And Kayle actually going this deep into the bracket is pretty surprising, and Alex Itch is going to love that. And it looks like we are going to have Renekton top and a jungle Nasus. Nasus is a very good jungler. He's going to synergize well with these ganks, as it's really hard to dodge Thresh's hook when you're slowed down with Wither. In addition to that, Renekton can throw out the stun, then the Wither, for a real terrifying combo. And that's definitely Gambit Gaming running a different sort of lineup, showing out the brothers in Nasus and Renekton, and it's going to be a very hard time for Giants to deal with them. Nasus is going to get a lot of farm in the jungle. And the problem is, Gambit also got Kayle on top of all this. Giants do have left Twist of Fate in the pool. He'd be a good choice, and it looks like they are going to pick him up. He is going to have the ability to snowball Giants, and that's what they need this game. I don't think they can take it late against Gambit. They have a decent lineup, but with a combination of tankiness coming out of Gambit, I don't see any way Giants is going to get enough damage to actually deal with that line. As there are 4 champions that are super tanky, in Kayle, Thresh, Renekton, and Nasus. And Ezreal is one of the hardest champions to pin down in the game. Along with that, they have the Kayle ultimate. They have the Thresh Lantern for even more mobility. And the 2 ultimates by Renekton and Nasus give them additional tankiness. This is just one really beefy lineup coming out from Gambit Gaming. And Giants is going to have to snowball early. Use the power of Volibear's ganking and Twisted Fate's ganking ability to really get a good lead early, snowball that into some early towers and map control, and force Gambit to play a man up in every single lane, force the jungler to constantly be in lanes if he wants to be safe. And that's just kind of one of those things. You're going to have to play it incredibly safe if Gambit isn't ahead early. Even though I think Gambit has the better lineup, especially if this goes late, Giants has the ability to snowball a really strong mid-game, and I think that's what they're going to try and do. Likely going to swap it up with the 2v1 lanes, as Renekton's an okay 2v1 laner, and I don't think they want to actually deal with Thresh, as a single hook would mean a dead Sona, possibly even a dead Caitlyn, as he just brings a whole lot of damage and poke. So I expect to see a lane swap happening by Giants, though we shall see as things do go on. Everyone running to the mid lane for Giants. Gambit likely to set up a fairly standard perimeter near the red buff and the race, as teams really love placing that aggressive ward near the race, near the red buff. And it's just something you can do fairly easily, is catch someone going just a little too deep. They have the level 1 abilities to do so. Thresh with his hook, Renekton could easily come in there with a stun if he chooses to do so. But I don't think he's actually going to go down there and try and contest, as both teams are just going to play very defensively. Looks like Nasus will be starting out with the red buff, or is at least watching the area. Everyone from Giants getting very cozy on the bottom side of things. Volibear likely to start out with the red buff, as I definitely expect to see a lane swap happening from Giants. Looks like we are going to see 4-man come in here, as we do see Piltover Peacemaker come out from Caitlyn. But no such luck of taking down the ward. Good strategy to get that deep ward in there. Thresh could place his pink ward and take it out, but no real need to. I don't think Renekton's going to get a gank up top anytime soon. And it looks like Giants is going to be playing it standard, with Akali versus Renekton top, which is a slight win for Renekton. And Renekton is going to get some very early damage, throwing out the stun and a few auto attacks. He does take a little bit of damage in return. He doesn't have as much health as Akali, but his sustain's a little higher. Even though Akali does have decent sustain herself, Renekton taking out those Wraiths rather quickly. Now we are going to see him going right for red, going for blue next. Surprised he didn't start at blue, but I guess he wants to be near top lane in case there's a gank, like there usually is around the 3 to 4 minute mark if there's a lane swap, but there is no lane swap. And we are just going to see him playing straight up with Kayle versus Twisted Fate in the mid lane, which is a pretty big win for Kayle. Kayle will get a lot of farm, pick up her items quickly. Though Kayle doesn't have the greatest pushing in the game, so Twist of Fate will get the ability to roam around. It's going to be a lot better for Kayle as she gets a lot of farm, and that's what you need on her. You need her to hit the quick 6, and then start kind of roaming around with her ultimate. Interesting, she started with a red potion. Same with Renekton. As they were kind of expecting a lane swap of some sort, just because you don't want to deal with Thresh at levels 1 and 2. He just has too much damage. And it looks like he is getting the worse for wear, as Sona's poking him down very hard in this engagement. And it's working out pretty well for Giants so far. Thresh not having the sustain he needs to at this point. He does have a lot. Renekton coming up, or excuse me, Nasus coming up top to help Renekton. As I'll probably get those two mixed up at least 5 times before this is over. But Volibear is going to be right here, and we're going to see a 2-on-2 fight up top as Thresh pulls in Sona for the first blood down bottom. Akali in a bit of trouble here, but she should be perfectly fine as Volibear is there to kind of push everyone away. But yeah, that's just the power of Thresh. One hook, you're dead. It's like a Blitzcrank, only he offers something more than just the hook. Blitzcrank offers good CC. Thresh has the shield and even more mobility. Interesting choice by Nasus to stay all the way up here. I think Akali suspects something, as she does check wisely with that Shroud, and is going to be able to get away just fine. Volibear still in the area, not wanting to go back, as this top lane is going to be pushed very heavily. I think Renekton's going to go back afterwards. Pick up something like a few extra potions or a ward, as we do see Akali taking a good bit of damage, but Renekton gets the worst of that trade as he takes 2 tower shots. And yeah, he's going to go back, pick up boots, be able to outmaneuver this Akali. Nasus getting a good bit of extra experience top, and a little bit of farm, but he's not actually getting siphoning strike hits at the moment, as they really need those hits to do a lot on Nasus, as that's really what his damage comes from, is maxing out CDR, stacking siphoning strike, and then going from there. Looks like we do have a counter ward down bottom as Giants threw down the pink ward into that far bush, looking to keep this lane pushed, and I expect Volibear to come down here fairly soon. Volibear going to run into Nasus up near the red buff, as it has been pinged out, but Nasus does wisely back up. Volibear finishes the camp and gets away safely. And so far, this Nasus pick has not done a whole lot. Twist of Fate going with the early Kage's lucky pick as he's getting bullied around by Kayle. And Kayle doing an excellent job of pushing him up there. Thresh doing an interesting play there, actually using his lantern to collect souls. And if you actually break the lantern, it will actually apply the shield to everyone in that large radius. So you can actually throw it at a long distance, then go in there and pick it up. And ouch, that's a lot of damage coming in onto Thresh. As Caitlyn and Sona have a lot of poke, and they're just going to keep this lane pushed up so they have full vision of Thresh at all times. Don't let him get into that brush where he can throw that surprise hook out. And that's really what you want to see out of the Giants at this point. Nasus is going to come in from the side as there is not a ward in the area. Sona having not gone and placed one, but I think they suspect something as Thresh does get in there fairly deep. He is getting fairly low, but the shield does save him. Nasus in here doing a good bit of damage to Sona. Sona likely to go down here as Ezreal gets very low. Caitlyn trying to finish Ezreal off, but no, Ezreal backs away at the last second. And Nasus would have had to wither up in a few moments so that Caitlyn could not pursue. And this bottom lane is going very poorly for Giants. That's just the power of Thresh. It was a nice bait, but Nasus was there to clean up. And if they really should have placed the ward near the tri-brush or at least somewhere in the river. As we do see Volibear coming in there, Twist of Fate taking a lot of damage, but Kayle is level 6, pops the ultimate, gets flinged back, but she does have flash. Twist of Fate with a red card instead of a gold card means he will go down. A trade 1-for-1, but a decent trade as you do pick up the extra assist gold. Though that is a pretty decent win coming out of Gambit, as Twist of Fate is just now 6. He won't get to roam very early. Up top, it's very even as Renekton and Akali are even on CS. Trading farm is a pretty good win for Akali. She will scale slightly better than Renekton later on. It looks like Twist of Fate will be picking up early Merc Treads just to prevent some of that damage from Kayle. Likely to be going into a Twin Shadows later, as it just provides great vision for your ultimate. And another way to just slow people down as soon as you teleport in to catch up and land that gold card. Especially someone like Caitlyn who can use her net to fly back or use a flash on anyone. It's just a really good pickup. We do see Caitlyn going with a very lifesteal-centric build. picking up the Vampiric Scepter early, while Ezreal's opted for the early BF Sword, just looking to apply a lot of pressure to this bottom lane. Volibear wrapping around near the red buff. Looks like he's going to go take the red buff, then gank bottom lane, as he does not actually pick it up. He had an opportunity to, but Nasus was there. Nasus going with the Spirit Stone. Looks like they're going to gank mid lane again. Kayle without flash will be stunned, fling back, but they overlap CCs just a little too much, and Kayle will be able to get out of here, as that gold card does land, but no, she does get taken out at the last second. Nasus coming in here for a gank. His ghost is not available, but he doesn't want to go into a 2v1 situation. He does spot out Volibear there, thanks to EDward. And Kayle's just getting a little greedy, not having boots that early. You really need boots against Volibear, just to prevent those ganks, and that's just why Volibear's been a European pickup. He runs in really quickly, he sets up CCs very well, and that was actually a good gold card by Twisted Fate. Lands it first, lets Volibear run in, knock him back, get another gold card at the last second. Thresh throwing out his lantern just to grab a few souls. Not going to be using it offensively at this point, as you can use it fairly offensively to throw it behind you as soon as you land the hook to actually pull the AD carry or jungler in. And it's something I'd like to see happen later on. Score is 3-2 with Gambit Gaming in a very small lead at this point in time. Twisted Fate picking up his blue buff, while I think Nasus is going to grab his own blue just to make sure he can continually farm in the jungle. The problem is that Ezreal has a kill already, and this bottom lane's going very poorly for Gambit. Even though they're even on CS, you really don't want to see Ezreal picking up kills. Caitlyn has to go for a less damaging build, picking up that early Vampiric Scepter instead of something like that early BF Sword or early Pickaxe. And a very interesting choice on the junglers, as we have Nasus going for the Spirit Stone, while Volibear has opted for the Magid's Razor. I fully expect something like the Elder Lizard picked up on Nasus. So you see Renekton engaging up top, doing a lot of damage to Akali, but Akali will be able to run away thanks to a nicely placed Shroud. Renekton up 12 minions there, and Akali going for a very defensive build, picking up that Seeker's Arm Guard first. And a lot of damage coming out to both of them, as Renekton's in a lot of trouble, but he is able to slice and dice away. Akali jumping in, and Renekton will be able to pop his red puff if he needs to, but he is going to be able to flash over, and he does do so. He will be in a lot of trouble. Not deciding to pop it is a good decision, as Twisted Fate was able to come there should he need to, though Nasus was blocked out of a gank down bottom, and that was a well-timed ultimate by Twisted Fate. Even though it didn't actually help the fight, it saved their bottom lane, and it really helped that top lane gank ensure that they got the kill on Renekton. Looks like Thresh has opted for that early Darien shield, which we see a lot of the more tanky junglers use on the European scene. While they don't pick it up on the North American scene, which is kind of interesting. They rush the Sight Stone, while everyone goes for the Philosopher's Stone on the European side of things. Dragon will be taken here by Gambit Gaming. As the kills are even, Gambit is up about 2,000 gold. Closer to 1,500. As we do see Nasus coming in the mid lane, looking to try and set up a gank on the Twisted Fate. That's a lot of slow power coming out from that mid lane, as Kayle has a very powerful slow. Nasus has one of the strongest slows in the game. And it looks like we are going to see a early BF Sword into Bloodthirster on Ezreal. Caitlyn going for that Infinity Edge, just wanting that extra bit of damage, as she has the range to support it. Looks like Thresh opting for even more gold per 10, as this bottom tower is taking a lot of damage from Giants, and they might actually be able to pick it up if they want to stay and take some tower hits. But no, they're actually going to get it right now with that last shot. And the pretty big win, he virtually evens up the game, as Giants has picked up the first tower in exchange for that first dragon. Volibear going to come up top and get himself a nice position into the brush, as Renekton's playing even more aggressively on Akali. But he does see Volibear there, as he peeks his head out for just a moment. But a pretty good win there for Gambit, as they break the Renekton ultimate, and he doesn't get to apply a lot of pressure. You want to use that Renekton ultimate very offensively, just to deal damage over time. Even if Akali's in her shroud, she still takes damage. And it looks like Renekton's going to come out here and not be able to actually get on Akali. Akali's going to dive in on him, doing some good damage, but he does get the stun and jump away. Twisted Fate has completed his Twin Shadows. Looks like Volibear up for an early Warmongs, as Akali has started to snowball this lane, and she's picked up a lot of armor with that Darien shield and Seeker's Arm Guard. She had to go away from the more standard lifesteal items like a gunblade or even that early haunting guise we've seen several times. But it's still a pretty good opportunity to just farm out, play till late game, and be able to destroy Ezreal in a team fight, which is what she's going to be doing. As she does jump in onto Renekton top. As Kayle is in a lot of trouble again. She does have the speed and she will be able to flash, but she is not going to be able to get out of this. She does pop her ultimate. She does turn on Twist of Fate, but that Twin Shadow is just slowing her down, and Kayle is not going to be in a position to do anything as she gets taken out. And another gank, courtesy of Volibear. And the Twin Shadow is doing a real good job there for Twist of Fate. Just getting that second CC effect where you can virtually permanently crowd control someone is really important. This bottom lane is basically been recovered by Caitlyn, as she's virtually even with Ezreal in CS. And it's a 200 gold lead for Gambit Gaming. Virtually nothing, courtesy of the tower taking down bottom, and the fact they've really picked on Kayle in the mid lane, as that's where almost all of their kills have come from on the Giant side of things. It's a good decision to pick on her, as you really want to shut her down from getting that Landry's Torment. As soon as she picks that up, she becomes a real damage machine after the Nashor's Tooth. But she really needs that second offensive item to really do a whole lot. Thresh coming in there, applying some damage to Caitlyn, but no, he's going to be off the mark and take a lot of damage for it. Twist of Fate popping his own ultimate, which means Thresh is in a lot of trouble, but there will be an exhaust coming out immediately away. Ezreal not in time to get away before he has to use his flash, and he does have the exhaust on him instead of the more standard cleanse. Thresh throwing his lantern, pulling Sona in a lot of trouble as the box comes down. That is a dead Sona. Big damage there by Nasus. Now we do see Kayle coming in here, is going to be able to get the slow onto Caitlyn, but she does cleanse it right away. Stun card coming out there from Twisted Fate, and no follow-up. Nice that played there by Thresh. Beautiful use of the lantern over the wall. And that's just one of the reasons why, if you're going to play against Thresh, you want to push the lane incredibly hard, as he won't be able to get the bush and get those surprise hooks. It's very easy to dodge, unless things are a surprise for Thresh, as that's kind of how he plays, and most of the champions with pull-in skills are. As same way with Blitzcrank. If you can see his hook coming, it's fairly easy to dodge. But if you can't see it coming, ooh boy, good luck. And it looks like we are going to have Gambit continuing to push this bottom lane, but Kayle sees them not going back, even though Twist of Fate and Caitlyn are both out of mana. Renekton popping his ultimate again, as Akali has actually completed that Hextech Revolver. Renekton going likely for a Frozen Mallet. The wise move by Akali to actually take a tick of Renekton's ultimate, as that will mean the tower takes 2 shots at him, and he's not in a good spot here, as he's letting Akali get a lot of farm. As Renekton, you really want to shut down Akali, as she will scale better than you, and a lot of damage being exchanged there. Renekton getting a little bit better of that trade, but Akali with the ultimate proc again means she's going to win that exchange very heavily, and she's going to get a lot of health back from this big minion wave, as she has the ability to spell vamp a lot of it. Twisted Fate going to be picking up his blue buff and looking to roam around the map again. He's been fairly effective with that ultimate, ensuring a kill top and almost getting a kill bottom, even though that got turned around. He has picked up the Sheen, allowing him to do a lot of burst damage, which is what I like to see at Twisted Fate. You got one kind of utility item, then you pick up the Sheen for maximum damage. It just allows you to continually CC someone throughout the entire length of the fight, and it's really just an impressive way to play Twisted Fate. We do see the Bloodthirster up onto Ezreal. He does have an additional longsword, could turn that into any number of things. Thresh gone with a lot of gold per 10 in support items, not even picking up the boots yet, nor has Sona picked up boots. Caitlyn about to finish up her Infinity Edge, as we do see Dragon now respawning, but Giants are in a great position for it. Akali is coming down, Renekton down as well, and we're going to see everyone here in this big fight, as we do see Nasus come forward, and he looks to apply a little bit of damage with his Spirit Fire, but not able to get in range. There's a lot of pink wards coming out here from Giants. I think that's the right decision to take a fight here. You're going to have Gambit Gaming split off, as Renekton is in the mid lane, even though there is 4 down there. And I Ooh, nice Caitlyn trap there. Does spot out the entirety of Gambit, which means they know exactly what's happening. Renekton going to be taken out of this fight as he is knocked away by Volibear. He does pop the ultimate, and he does not have his extra proc of Slice and Dice, but a beautiful Kayle ultimate saves him for a few seconds, and that means Volibear is forced to flash and a lot of damage going. And that's just one of the reasons why Kayle is basically permanently banned. Nice hook in by Thresh means that Sona's in a lot of trouble, and she will be taken down, but a beautiful ultimate saves her for a few seconds. And with one down, this is Gambit's Gaming's Dragon, though I think we are going to see them continue to pressure them from the Giant side. Giants don't want to give this up. They have several people low on Gambit's side, but not enough to actually go for it, as Gambit does pick up one and force a lot of pressure onto Giants to make something happen. Is that Kayle ultimate is really something. It's one of those things that you turn around a fight like that and it's just a lot of trouble. Because Renekton should have been dead there. He had every reason to die. He was completely caught out by multiple people on Giants, but the Kayle ultimate came perfect time to stop the Akali burst and burn off several charges of her ultimate. And that's really something that you don't want to have happen, is you need Akali with every stack of her ultimate to be effective. Nasus is still running around the Dragon Pit. He does not actually have a pink ward. Thresh coming forward, he does not have a pink ward either. He just has the Ruby Sightstone. It looks like Sona has decided to pick up an early set of boots instead of going for the Sightstone first, which is kind of different, as it looks like Caitlyn is going to be able to go take this ward in the back of the Dragon Pit, but Nasus might be able to catch her out as she is running down there, but no, just the Spirit Fire around her means that she's going to be forced back, and everyone's still in the bottom half of the field. No one running top yet, and I think Twisted Fate's going to try and go top, push out the wave, and likely take tower, as I think we do. Gambit Gaming recognizes it. And it looks like we are going to see Renekton going and checking for the blue buff, but it is not up. Still a few seconds left on that, and Gambit's going to be able to start Dragon here. Twisted Fate with the ultimate comes in here trying to catch Ezreal, but Ezreal will be caught under tower and taken out. Nice exhaust there by him at the end, which means that the Dragon will not actually be taken. Gambit actually going to turn and fight. Not sure I like that decision from them, but Volibear's in a lot of trouble as Thresh does throw out the hook. We do see Kayle popping her ultimate, and it will be able to get away. Volibear taken down, as we do see Akali getting very low, and she will actually be taken out by Nasus here, but no, nice jump away to minions as Nasus is continuing to fight here, and he will go down. Beautiful fight, but it looks like Thresh pulling Twisted Fate in, not able to get that last card out and finish off Nasus. 1-for-1 trade, but a big win for Giants as they will be able to take Dragon off of this. Caitlyn and Sona at full health. Ezreal still alive. Kind of surprised Gambit just didn't take the trade, Ezreal for Dragon, as that's a pretty big win, as you get a lot more gold for Dragon than you do for just Ezreal. But instead, they're going to lose Dragon after trading 1-for-1, and Giants are going to be almost even with them. They're down 500 gold, which is virtually nothing. The problem they're running into is Nasus is getting a lot of farm. So is Kayle and Ezreal. And Caitlyn just doesn't scale as well as Ezreal does, even though she is going for a more offensive-oriented build. And we are going to have the Gunblade up onto Akali very soon, even though she had to stop by some defensive items first. It's still going to be a fairly quick Gunblade, likely to come out at about 25 minutes or so. Renekton has opted for a Hex Drinker, as it looks like Gambit is going to be able to take this middle tower. There's just not enough pressure from Giants, as they had to all go back after that Dragon. They were all extremely low. Looks like the ward has been placed, as we do see several members of Gambit running up top, likely trying to catch the Akali out. But Thresh will not be able to get there in time, as she wisely backs up after pushing a very large minion wave into the tower. Warmongs is now complete up onto Volibear, as Twisted Fate has completed his Lich Bane. Infinity Edge up onto Caitlyn. Sona finishing off that Sightstone, as we have Thresh picking up a lot of support and defensive items. I do apologize for that bit of lag. It just happens every now and then on the stream. Kayle picking up the Haunting Eyes after finishing up the Nashor's Tooth. Nasus has picked up the Aegis of the Legion. Surprised he's not gone for more cooldown reduction, as that seems to be what most Nasus players do, is stack cooldown reduction, something like the Lock of the Iron Solari and Spirit Vestige for even more lifesteal goodness. Renekton dueling Akali up top, and Akali in a lot of trouble as Renekton pops the ultimate and has been forced to burn several ultimate charges just to kind of play Ring Around the Rosie with him. But Nasus is coming up here, and Renekton will flash forward with a stun, and there's a big Wither, as Akali does not have a chance to escape. Nice play there by Nasus. And that's something that's going to really hurt Gambit come late game, is that Wither on the AD carry makes them virtually useless. Thresh here with a nice hook, but just out of range as Caitlyn uses her net to get away. Absolutely wonderful play there by Caitlyn, just getting out of range. And this will mean a very good trade by Giants, as they're not going to be able to actually get that tower. Twisted Fate popping his ultimate and just running away as he was converged on. Thresh in a bit of trouble as he does throw out the box, and he will be picked off here. But he does get a nice hook onto Twisted Fate before going away. Nasus in a lot of trouble here as he does get stunned up, and he will be taken out here as the exhaust is thrown in on him. Ezreal in a lot of trouble and is going to be forced back. He's trying to pick up a kill onto Caitlyn, as we do see Kayle running in there. She did hit a trap which slowed her down. She is going to try and speed herself up, but not able to get there in time. And it looks like we are going to have Renekton in a bit of trouble as Volibear does run in here as the rest of Giants come in for that kill. Question is, will Kayle be able to do something in time? And she will not, as her ultimate was still up, and she's likely saving it for herself, but no, she does not actually get her ultimate off. And Giants is going to be able to take the lead here as they take this middle tower. Nothing Gambit Gaming can do, and Gambit Gaming just overextending themselves a little bit. They also had a lot of gold on some of their champions that needed to be spent. And with Giants ahead by 2 kills and virtually even in gold, it's definitely their game to lose at this point, as they've really just been a bit more coordinated than Gambit at this point in time. And this is just showing the power of those little mistakes. You go a few steps forward to help your teammate, it turns out to be 4 deaths. Ezreal has decided to pick up a Last Whisper instead of going with a more traditional Zeal, as Zeal has been completed up onto Caitlyn. Thresh still not picking up a whole lot, as he has actually gone for Mercury Treads fairly early on. Lots of gold per 10 coming out from Sona. Twisted Fate picking up that needlessly large rod, likely to bring it into a Zhonya's Hourglass or Death Cap. I think Zhonya's going to be a good choice here, as we do see Kayle about to complete that Leandry's Torment. Ezreal in a lot of trouble, but he does flash and Arcane Shift away. Nasus coming in here with a big Wither on Twisted Fate, but they are not going to be able to pursue. Ezreal ultimate does fly, but no one else is in the area. They just didn't have good vision on Akali or Sona or even Volibear. And if they had vision on them, they would have taken that fight, as Nasus can basically beat both of them, assuming he can get close, just thanks to the power of Wither. Thresh going to be throwing out the Lantern, pulling Akali in, and getting close with a nice knock-up. Pink Ward throw down there for Akali, but Kayle is not going to be able to get in range. Lantern thrown out there, but Akali will get away. A lot burned, but Akali is safe. And that Pink Ward's just not in a very good spot, as it won't see a whole lot. If it's placed in the bush, it would have been a little bit better. And Akali has now completed her Gunblade. Runic Bulwark now up onto Nasus, as he really just needs to pick up some cooldown reduction at this point. Renekton going to be in a lot of trouble up top as he jumps onto Volibear, trying to play aggressive. But Darien hasn't been able to play aggressive at all this game, as he does miss the jump. No, he actually did hit it, and Renekton will be able to get away, but he's not going to be able to defend this tower for long. Kayle's going to have to run up there and try, but no, she's instead just going to give away the tower. Caitlyn doing a lot of pressure down bottom. Twisted Fate still in the area, playing buddy to Caitlyn at this point, as they really want to pick off Ezreal. Because if they can pick off Ezreal, there's not going to be enough damage coming out from the rest of Gambit Gaming to be a real threat. Volibear going to try and come up top to Renekton, but Renekton will be able to teleport out to safety, as that tower just not going to be doing enough. And yeah, with that tower going down top, it is going to be a trade for Gambit Gaming, as they just don't have the ability to defend that top tower. They are going to be able to take Dragon here fairly effectively, as there's not a ward here placed by Giants, though we do see Sona trying to come down here and get one. It's going to be a little too late, as Ezreal did jump in from the back. A fairly risky move, as they do jump in onto Sona. She is hit with a box. Ezreal ultimate does fly, and that is a dead Sona. Lots of burst damage coming out from Thresh, as Akali is able to come in there, but not able to steal the blue, as Renekton does take it, and applying a lot of pressure to her. Blue buff very good on Renekton, as it means he can spam out his abilities and just deal a lot of damage to Akali, who's in real trouble here. She's not going to be able to get away from this, as Renekton will have a slice and dice up in just a moment, though she does pop a flash. Renekton not able to get the dice part of slice and dice. Volibear in here, and the last hit of Call of the Meek will finish her off. Excellent play there by Renekton, recognizing his advantage. Twist of Fate popping the ultimate, trying to go down onto Ezreal, but no, he comes back up to help defend this mid tower, as there's a lot of pressure coming from Gambit Gaming, but they're going to be in a lot of trouble as Nasus is hit, and he's going to go down here. No, he is not. He does have his ghost popped. Thresh in a lot of trouble. Kayle able to get away as well. Renekton coming in from the back, but Thresh going down is not going to be a big deal, but no, Thresh is actually saved by Renekton coming in from the side. Excellent block there as Kayle jumps into the fight with her flash. Not sure the flash was really needed, as she will be the only casualty here. Though it looks like we are going to have Giants trying to press forward and get another kill, as Volibear does pop. And no, he will not be able to get there in time. Twist of Fate not able to land his cards for enough damage, but this will mean a Baron attempt by Giants. No way to really stop them at this point. Ezreal is a bit out of position, and everyone on Gambit Gaming will have to go back. There are no wards here by Gambit, and this means a basically free Baron for Giants, assuming Ezreal doesn't steal it. And it's going down very quickly, just past half health now, and yeah, this is not going to be something that Gambit wants to go into. Ezreal ultimate does fly, but it is taken by Volibear. Everyone low for the Giant side of things, but a Wither placed kind of poorly onto Sona will mean they pick up at least one kill from all of this. And Renekton jumping forward, but does step on a trap, as he's just a little too big to sneak by it. Looks like we are going to have Nasus and the rest of Gambit Gaming just pushing up this mid lane. They recognize how low Giants are and are going to be able to push for a tower. Giants does have a small lead at this point, which is going to be negated with this tower. Volibear, interestingly enough, going with the Spirit Vestige, as we are perfectly even at this point in time. Looks like we are actually going to have not going for Landry's Torment onto Kayle. She looks like she's going a different route. She might be going for the Abyssal Scepter. I'm not sure that's the best idea considering the amount of magic damage coming from her team. But they do have a fair bit, as both Nasus and Renekton ults are magic damage. Ezreal has a bit on his ultimate, and Kayle brings a bit herself, but I'm not sure it's really worthy of picking up that Abyssal Scepter. Deathcap soon to be up onto Twisted Fate, as Infinity Edge is finished up onto Caitlyn. Ezreal likely going for that Quicksilver Sash, as we do see Akali in a lot of trouble as she gets really beaten down here, and she's gonna die. Twisted Fate doesn't need to use his ultimate to come in there. She just got caught out with a very nice deep ward by Gambit Gaming. And that's just something that teams do at this high level. They place those deep lane wards so you can see someone coming in, especially when the creep waves push like that. Thresh throwing out the hook, but no such luck landing, as we have another tower taken down by Gambit. And they've opened up about a 2,000 gold lead. Not a very comfortable 2,000 gold lead, as you see Volibear pulled in and not any damage done to him. But a nice hook nonetheless. Means there's a bit of harassment done to Caitlyn, but the Baron buff will keep them alive under this tower fairly handily. Surprised Gambit hasn't rotated top yet, as that is a basically free tower at this point, as I don't see Giants being really wanting to defend an outer tower without Akali, though Ezreal is a little too low on health. And yeah, Giants are just going to back up, farm out the lanes, push, and buy up their next set of items. Twist of Fate now has completed the death cap, as we are going to see Nasus pick up something soon. I'm not sure what it is going to be. Renekton picking up what looks to be a Kindle Gem, and likely bring that into the Lockdown Solari, which is so loved on the North American scene. It's just a very good item that gives that extra bit of health. Shirley's Reverie soon to be up onto Thresh, as we do see that Kindle Gem now picked up by Nasus. Still has not used that Spirit Stone for anything. Kind of surprised he hasn't actually turned it into something like the Spirit of the Elder Lizard's actually very good on him. Spirit of the Ancient Golem is good for the extra tankiness, but I don't think he needs that considering he has Mercury Treads. You might not actually turn it into anything and just sell it eventually when you don't need it anymore. Looks like Ezreal has picked up that Blade of the Rune King, looking to go for even more damage and sustain, as he's going to be virtually impossible to kill him unless he actually gets taken and bursted down, because that's a lot of lifesteal coming out, and I don't think you're going to be able to actually out-damage him at this point, or out-damage the lifesteal on him. Kayle looks to actually be going with a death cap, and that's just a casual Negatron cloak, it looks like, on both Ezreal and Kayle, as they'll eventually turn into something, but it's just a little bit of extra protection now. Renekton has finished off that Maul Malmortius, And we are going to see Ezreal picking up the red while the rest of Giants prepare for Dragon, which will spawn in about 20 seconds. They know about when it came up. They were a little early there. Akali looks to be going for either a Warmongs or Riley's Crystal Scepter. I think Riley's would be a good choice here, giving her just a bit of extra slow, and she doesn't need the extra health coming out of that Warmongs yet. As we do see Twist of Fate going down bottom just to continue split pushing. Giants has not the really good position here, as Gambit will be able to take this Dragon 4 completely free. And it looks like we are going to see them just move towards the blue buff, try and secure that, but it has already been taken. Nasus has picked up an Oracle's Elixir, and a lot of gold being concentrated onto Caitlyn this game for Giants, as she's the only one that's ahead of Gambit Gaming. It's fairly even at this point, with about a 2,500 gold lead for Gambit Gaming, but one single team fight could turn this upside down, as Giants had the lead just a few minutes ago, and they took it back from Gambit Gaming, who had a very good early game lead. Surprised we have not seen more armor come out of Gambit Gaming, as the only real problem is Caitlyn. There's not going to be a whole lot of damage coming out of anyone else, as Twist of Fate's a lot of burst, and Akali's a lot of burst damage, but it's a mixed damage. It's not all magical, it's a bit of physical. Twist of Fate doing his thing down bottom of split pushing. He is going to actually aggro the tower and be forced back for a few moments. Ezreal is here, and Twist of Fate will be able to just jump away after taking a few shots. No, he doesn't even do that. But with Twist of Fate ultimate down, it means he can't split push as well, and it's going to be a bit of a bother for Giants to actually get something done, as neither team wants to take an engagement unless they can really catch someone out. Nasus is trying to catch Volley out here, but Volibear doesn't really... He's not really who you want to catch. He's going to be hard to take down. He doesn't have any good ways to escape, but Nasus is in a lot of trouble as he is forced to pop the ultimate, and Caitlyn doing a ridiculous amount of damage to him. As Akali does jump forward, Renekton pop his own ultimate, but there comes Kayle, and a lot of burst damage coming out, and that will be a dead Akali. Renekton going to survive on the back of a Kayle ultimate, and Ezreal's just doing ridiculous amounts of damage as Thresh comes in here to finish it off. Beautiful play there by Gambit Gaming, turning what would have been a certainly dead Nasus and Renekton into a 4-man kill with only Sona alive. This should easily be 1, if not 2 inhibitors taken. And that's just the power of Kayle yet again. If Renekton would have died, Akali would have been able to move around the battlefield better. And they've just burned a lot on him to not have him die. Same with Nasus. If they would have killed him off, they would have gotten an extra mark of the assassin on Akali and would have been able to just continually fight. But they didn't. And it looks like we are going to see Gambit Gaming going for the win as Sona does her best to try and stall them. I don't think she's actually going to... No, she actually does push them back. They only get that one Nexus turret. Surprised they didn't rotate down bottom and take the inhibitor turret. But I guess they don't want to take too much damage, as Baron has just respawned. Looks like Twist of Fate's going to pop his ultimate. Even though we do see Gambit in a good spot to actually fight. The only person low is Kayle, but she does have a blue buff. And that's just mana. And it looks like we are going to have Twist of Fate in the area. And it will be a 5-man fight. Caitlyn out of position, though. She's not in a spot to actually fight. But I think she realizes my team's enough pressure. My team's going to apply enough pressure that they can't do Baron. We just kind of got caught out in that last fight. We burned too much damage for not getting a kill. And we need to focus a bit more. Caitlyn does a lot of damage, and she's going to do even more when she picks up her next item. Looks like we do have Thresh finishing off the Lock of the Iron Solari in addition to the Twin Shadows. We do see Deathcap actually now complete onto Kayle. Nasus with the Lock of the Iron Solari. Renekton, not sure what he's actually going to pick up next. He's got a lot of options. Likely a Frozen Mallet would be a good choice. Sunfire Cape would be decent as well. Akali looking to go for that Zhonya's Hourglass just to get a bit more ability power. Nasus up top looking to try to apply some pressure to Akali, but wisely they just decide to back up as soon as they see the rest of the team. And there's no way they're going to really be caught. Nasus is great against Volibear, because good luck charging in and flipping him once you're withered. And good luck Caitlyn trying to do any damage if you're withered as well. Kayle opting for a Randuin's Omen. Kind of different pick up there. as that's not what you would expect on Kayle. You expect her to go more pure offense and just use the ultimate for yourself. Ezreal has picked up a Banshee's Veil, and it's going to allow him to be fairly safe against some of the burst. Twin Shadows has been popped by Twisted Fate, giving him vision of this area. Nasus throwing the Wither onto Volibear as he does try and come forward. He is fairly tanky at this point. He does not have Ghost popped yet, as we do see Thresh throwing out the hook and missing. Nasus is going to have a Wither, and he does throw it on Akali, landing a nice bit of damage is Twisted Fate. And that means Gambit's game is going to have to be back up, as Nasus isn't in fighting shape. He's going to have to burn potions. Renekton does take a good chunk of his health with that Caitlyn ultimate. And it's anyone's fight here. Even though Giants have a bit more poke, and they're doing a good job of harassing down Gambit. It looks like Gambit is just going to reside to not doing Baron. They're going to go take blue buff, make sure Kayle has every advantage she can possibly get. And Gambit knows they can pick up Baron later. This mid lane is going to be pushed out fairly heavily. Bottom lane has a really big creep wave coming in. And Akali's seeing top. There is not a ward here. So it looks like Nasus is going to pop the ultimate and just go for Baron. Renekton coming in through the backside. But it looks like Giants do see it, but they're not in a position to take advantage of it. We do see Caitlyn pulled in as Thresh does come in here, and a beautiful hit there by Thresh. And that should be good game. Caitlyn is the only real hope for Giants in terms of damage. They have enough tankiness and damage elsewhere, but they really need Caitlyn to finish these fights. As she just provides that kind of that little bit of things to little bit of damage to actually go from that 80% you burst them down to at the beginning to the 30% where you can apply that finishing bit of burst. And it looks like they are going to push the top lane on Gambit's side of things. They have worked up about an 8,000 gold lead here and have just done an excellent job of controlling the game. And even though they did throw a few fights in the mid game, they've really recovered well, and they're just way too tanky for Giants to actually kill at this point in time, especially with Baron buff. And Thresh has been used to great effect this game, catching people out all over the board. And it looks like we are going to have Giants doing a good job of defending, as we do see Akali pulled in, and she is going to be bursted down before getting that shroud up. Just the power of Thresh. And we are going to see a good game from Gambit. Picking up the win here as they finish off the tower and go straight for the Nexus. Another nice hook in there by Thresh as he does get pulled into the base for just a few moments, but no casualties, as Gambit really just used Thresh to great effect, and they used their tankiness as well. They just kind of outscaled and capitalized on the one or two big mistakes Giants made. Along with that, they had the Kayle ultimate, which completely turned some of these fights around. And I'm kind of surprised Kayle was not banned. But overall, a very good game coming out from both teams. That's one of those you can look back on Giants and say, hey, just one or two less mistakes and we got this. They had every opportunity to win. They just really made one or two big blunders. And that was it. Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more, follow my YouTube and Twitch pages below.